York Road Station is one of the great time capsules of the London Underground, a place where history seems to have been sealed away behind brick and dust. Opened in 1906 on the Piccadilly line, it was designed by Leslie Green, its facade of ox blood-red tiles standing proudly on York Way, just a stone's throw from King's Cross. At the time, the surrounding neighborhood was largely industrial, home to factories, warehouses, and poor housing, and the station struggled to attract the numbers needed to justify its existence. By the 1920s, it was serving only a handful of passengers each day, and in 1932 it closed quietly, overshadowed by the far busier King's Cross nearby. Yet unlike other disused stations that were gutted, reused, or forgotten, York Road remained largely untouched. Its lifts, tiling, staircases, and even signs have survived in remarkable condition, preserved in silence like the set of a film left waiting for actors to return. Train drivers who pass through still glimpse its tiled platforms, frozen in time, while urban explorers and historians have long described it as one of the Underground's most atmospheric ghosts. During the Second World War, there were proposals to reopen it for local use, but none came to pass, and afterward the building simply stood, its bricked-up windows gazing out at the traffic along York Way. In recent years, with the redevelopment of King's Cross and the surrounding area, calls have occasionally been made to revive the station, to restore it to service for a new age of commuters, but so far these have remained only dreams. Today, York Road Station is a reminder of a different London, when factories lined the streets and workers crowded into tenements, and when the Piccadilly line was still finding its way. It is also a reminder of the fragility of progress, how quickly a station can be abandoned when the tides of the city shift. Frozen in time, York Road remains a ghost, not because it is haunted, but because it has been perfectly preserved, a rare portal into the Underground's Edwardian past. Hidden in plain sight near the busiest hub in London, York Road Station is a ghost that lingers in the shadow of King's Cross, a relic of the Piccadilly line that closed in 1932 and has remained almost untouched ever since. Opened in 1906, it was one of Leslie Green's signature designs, clad in ox blood-red tiles, its tall windows and decorative cornices promising modernity and convenience. Yet its location worked against it. Surrounded by grim industrial yards and run-down housing, the station drew little traffic, overshadowed by the massive interchange at King's Cross just a short walk away. By the 1920s, its ticket office was almost deserted, and trains often stopped to pick up only a passenger or two. When the closure finally came, it was quiet, almost unnoticed, as if the city itself had already forgotten the station's existence. But York Road did not vanish. Instead, it remained, its platforms sealed and silent, its Edwardian tiling intact, its staircases and lift shafts frozen as though time itself had stopped in 1932. To this day, drivers passing through the tunnels report glimpses of its ghostly platforms, dimly lit by the flash of their headlights, rows of tiles gleaming like bone in the darkness. Urban legends say that workers inspecting the site have heard the faint echo of footsteps on the stairs or the creak of doors that should not move. The station's facade above ground, though weathered by soot and decades of neglect, still bears its name, a stubborn reminder that York Road has not been erased. During the Blitz, it was left bricked up and unused, while other stations became vital shelters, further deepening its reputation as the forgotten sibling of the Underground. Today, as King's Cross thrives as a hub of glass offices, shops, and new housing, York Road stands frozen in its Edwardian shell, untouched by the city's transformation. It is a place where past and present collide, an abandoned station so well preserved that stepping inside feels like crossing into another century. For many, it is not just a closed stop, but a ghost station in the truest sense, not haunted by spirits, but by the silence of history. York Road Station is one of those rare pieces of the London Underground where history feels as if it has been perfectly sealed, waiting to be rediscovered. Built in 1906, it was designed by Leslie Green in his trademark style, with deep ox blood-red tiles and elegant arched windows that still stand on York Way today. Its life was short, overshadowed from the beginning by the immense pool of King's Cross, just a few minutes' walk away. By 1932, with passenger numbers dwindling to a trickle, the station closed quietly, its ticket halls locked, its lifts frozen, its platforms left to gather dust. Unlike many other disused stations that were stripped or repurposed, York Road remained astonishingly intact. To this day, the tiling on its platforms can still be seen by train drivers as they pass through, pale Edwardian patterns that have not been touched in nearly a century. Above ground, its facade has been weathered, but not destroyed, standing as an architectural fossil in the middle of a rapidly changing city. In the decades since its closure, York Road has become a subject of fascination for transport historians, urban explorers, and city planners alike. During the post-war years, there were whispers of reopening it, and again in the 1980s and 1990s, as redevelopment swept through the King's Cross area. More recently, as modern offices, apartments, and cultural spaces have risen nearby, campaigners have argued that York Road could once again serve a community, now far larger than the one it failed in the 1920s. Yet reopening would require enormous investment, and so the station remains locked in limbo, a place not alive, yet not forgotten. Its survival is a testament to the durability of Green's designs, but also a reminder of how quickly London's tides of change can leave even ambitious projects obsolete. Today, York Road Station exists as both a relic and a possibility, a frozen fragment of Edwardian London, preserved beneath the roar of modern trains, waiting silently while the city above debates whether to give it a second chance or leave it forever as one of the Underground's most pristine ghosts. York Road Station feels less like a disused stop and more like a dream, suspended in brick and tile, a fragment of Edwardian London that never quite woke up from its slumber. It opened in 1906 with all the promise of the Piccadilly line's grand expansion, its oxblood-red facade shining proudly on York Way, its lifts and staircases echoing with the footsteps of workers and residents heading toward the new century. Yet even in its early years, the station seemed oddly quiet, its platforms rarely crowded, its ticket hall hushed compared to the thunderous bustle of King's Cross just around the corner. When it closed in 1932, the silence was complete, as though the city had folded it neatly into the shadows and moved on. But York Road did not decay into rubble or ruin, it simply paused. Beneath the ground, the tiling remains startlingly bright, frozen in the patterns of another age, while the platforms wait in a silence broken only by the rush of trains that no longer stop. Drivers who pass through catch fleeting glimpses of white and green tiles, gleaming eerily in their headlights like bones in the dark. Above ground, the facade still breathes with history, its bricked-up windows staring like blind eyes across the changing landscape of King's Cross. In the Blitz, when other stations became shelters, York Road remained untouched, locked away, as if it carried a destiny separate from the living city. Today, it stands as one of the Underground's purest ghost stations, not haunted by tragedy or spirits, but by the strangeness of being left perfectly intact while time surged forward without it. To peer at its sealed doors is to feel a strange dislocation, as though if they were opened you might step not into a station, but into 1932 itself, with polished tiles, silent lifts, and echoes of a London that no longer exists. York Road is not just disused, it is timeless, a place where the present refuses entry and the past refuses to leave, a ghost woven from silence, stillness, and the patience of waiting nearly a century for someone to remember.